YouTube? Max Reynolds here from the Card Guyz, going to be doing a brand new video segment about cubing. Now some of you may be wondering, what is cubing? What is all this about? Well, this is going to be the first video in the series to hopefully get you guys really excited about this because it's one of my favorite ways to play Yu-Gi-Oh! So I'm going to get right on into the explanation. So cubing is a form of drafting, and drafting is basically taking a sum of cards, in which case my cube has 400 cards to draft from, with a 120 extra deck to draft out of. And for those of you that don't know what drafting is, basically you're given packs, but they're like pre-constructed because obviously I can't just make packs for Yu-Gi-Oh! And you take one card out of each pack that you want, and then you pass it to the next person. And gradually the packs will decrease in cards because each person is obviously taking a card until you have the same amount of cards you started with, but hopefully these will all be cards that you would want in your deck. Now the special rule for my cube is really quite cool, and it's a rule that Konami implemented in their Battle Pack 3 draft, which they used in Top Cut at various YCSs in 2015 and a little bit of 2014. This rule is that all monsters are all types. To give you a few examples of cards that have the all cards, all type advantage in the cube, I have 5 cards here from my own cube that I'm going to show you how they would basically work in cube. So the first card we have is Spore. Now, I feel like if you play Yu-Gi-Oh! You should know what Spore does, but it's totally fine if you don't. Basically what this card says in real Yu-Gi-Oh! Is you banish a plant monster from your graveyard to special summon it, and then it gains that level when it comes to the field. So if you banish a level 3, he becomes level 4. In cube, since all monsters are all types, no matter where they are, if they're in your deck, if they're in your hand, if they're in your graveyard, if they're banished, you could take advantage of that rule and basically use Spore to banish any monster. Whether it be like a Dragon Ruler, which is obviously really crazy because then he comes out as level 8, and then you get your Dragon Ruler effect to search, and as you can see, it would just get crazier from there on. But that's obviously like one of the really good cards in the cube. The next card that I want to show you guys is Emergency Teleport. Now, this isn't to say that these are the very best cards in the cube. These are just some like cards that I figured anyone would probably know about, and they would be like very easy to understand. This clean cut simple, use special level 3 or lower Psychic from your deck. In cube, you just summon any level 3 monster from your deck, and it's a quick play, so you can chain it and do all sorts of stuff like that. Very, very good, very powerful. Then, in my cube, I have fusion monsters, and there's actually enough fusions that just take, it'll say like Wing Beast or Pyro, and those are obviously types, and since all monsters are all types in the cube, you can use any 2 monsters to satisfy those materials. So with cards like Dragon's Mirror, and I do have Super Polymerization in my cube, which is probably on its way to getting banned, but that would be a different video. I do have a cube ban list, which is something that has evolved from almost a year and a half of drafting, so it's pretty well versed in cards that I feel shouldn't be in any cube with these rules. But Dragon's Mirror, yeah, basically just a Miracle Fusion, so that's really cool. Then we have Book of Life. Book of Life is a Monster Reborn that also just banishes a card out of your opponent's graveyard. For those that don't know, real Yu-Gi-Oh! It special summons a zombie back from your graveyard, and then it banishes a monster from your opponent's graveyard. So this is one of the really powerful cards in the cube. And then we have Girgigan X. Like I said, another card that I feel like most people should know, but for those that don't, it takes 2 machines to make, so any 2 level 4s in the cube. And you can detach a material to add a level 4 or lower machine from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Now that's where things get cool, because you can like add cards from your grave back to your hand, or just like search whatever you want. And I just recently added pendulums to my cube, and when you overlay with pendulums, they obviously are going to go to the graveyard. So you're going to want cards like Gigant and Emerald to be able to retrieve them back from the graveyard, or have like Pot of Avarice or something. So that's really cool. Now some of you may be wondering, how do I set up my own cube? It's actually very simple. You basically just take 1 of every card that you want in it, because in a cube there can only be 1 of every card. That's what's really important. And that's why the decks always come out so cool, because you're like, well, they're all 1-ofs. How would my deck be good? With the special rule of all monsters are all types, all the decks are always like, it just feels like you're playing a real deck. And the interactions that you get are just insane. And a lot of people have, at least my friends personally, have preferred playing cube than the real game, just because obviously our format right now is extremely stale. So setting up your cube, like I said, you're going to want to take one of every card that you want and add it. Now, mine is 400 as a base. I don't really like going over that number, and I always just keep it at 400. It's been like that for probably about a year now. Some players have a higher sum of cards in their cube, and some players have a lower sum. It really doesn't matter as long as you can satisfy the number of players that you want, which goes into creating packs. Now, when you want to make packs for cube, at least with my cube, you need to use every single card in the cube when you're making packs. And why this is important is, let's say there's 4 players playing, right? In order to draft, each player will need to have 5 packs of 20 main deck cards and 2 packs of 15 extra deck cards. Now, this is obviously going to take much longer than an 8-person draft, where players would have 2 packs of 15 main deck cards and 1 pack of 20 main deck cards to combine to 55, and then your extra deck there would just be 15 like normal. Now, another thing that a lot of people always wonder is, when the drafts are like a lower amount of players, if they can use all the extra deck cards they draft. Like I said, you can do it however you want, but in my cube, and I know a lot of other people's, you still have to play under the actual rules of the game, so you have to cut 15 cards down till you have 15 in your extra deck. And yeah, other rules that you should be sure to abide by: drawing 5 cards per turn. Don't draw 6 like before. I mean, obviously, like, it's really up to you. Like, it's almost like creating your own like other way of playing Yu-Gi-Oh. You get to decide your ban list. You get to decide your format. It's all like really cool. What you can do with it, because literally the sky's the limit. You can create your own special rule for the cube. You can make all cards all attribute, all cards all archetype. That's the craziest one. I created it, and literally like I have 4 people that want to play it. Maybe it's just way too powerful. But you know, you just do what you want to do. And the main thing that I can't stress enough is that you can only have 1 of each card in your cube. And the first time you make it, you might like mess up and be like, oh yeah, I have like 2 Raikos in here, or like 2 Dark Holes or something. And like, that's no big deal, obviously. Like, it's your first time making it. Now, with my personal cube, during the drafting process, you're going to have roughly 5 packs every time. You might have 4, depending on the number of participants. But each of your first packs, you're going to have the first shot at the cards in there, right? So there's probably going to be something like way better than everything else. And it's going to be very advantageous for everybody to know what the best card in the pack was. So with my cube and several other people's cubes, we do something called revealing the first pick. So like, let's say there was like a bunch of like cards, and then you have like a dragon ruler. You obviously want the dragon ruler, unless like you need something else, but you probably just want the dragon ruler because you can banish any 2 monsters from your graveyard or your hand to summon it. So they're just like insanely free and very good. So you're gonna take your dragon ruler and just reveal it face up on the field, or like in front of you, wherever all your drafted cards are, and then just pass the rest of the cards. And then for the rest of the draft, you don't have to show anybody anything. But the reason these first picks are important is they allow counterpicking. Counterpicking is like a form of mitigating how like strong everyone else's decks are. And that's super important because you don't want someone to be like, oh, he has Lone Fire Blossom, which, let me tell you, that's one of the best cards in the cube. You can tribute it to summon any monster from your deck, and that effect is not once per turn. So if someone has Lone Fire Blossom, you don't want them to have access to Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, because then they could Lone Fire Blossom into Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, then use Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon's effect to bring back the Lone Fire Blossom, and then use Lone Fire Blossom's effect again. And there's several cards in the cube that allow you to keep recurring these effects, and that makes things really crazy. So by having this first pick system, you can prevent people's decks from getting way out of hand. Now, a lot of people are probably just going to be watching this video and going, well, like, what if, like, I don't want to make a cube, it sounds expensive. It actually is quite expensive. You can, even if you took, like, the lowest common rarity of every card, it could still come out to being, like, $500. But if you have a bunch of friends and everybody wants to play, you can all just chip cards in and, like, you know, write down who contributed what, and that way you can have all your cards. You can also just build a cube with, like, a smaller amount of cards that satisfies always, just like, you know, just have like 4 people playing. And if you want, I can like show you guys how to do that with denominations and stuff like that, so it's all very easy for you. That being said, there's also like a lot of things that I want to touch base on that Cube can benefit you from. The first time I cubed at Voltage Games in Michigan with Jeff and just a lot of the players there. And the first time I played, I obviously got slaughtered because I just had really no idea what I was doing. I made this common mistake that everybody else does where they think that you can banish any 2 monsters to summon Chaos Emperor Dragon or Black Luster Soldier. Cannot stress enough, it is all types, not all attributes. You still have to banish a light and a dark monster to do that. And that's fine. Now, back to my point. Back in Michigan, that was the only place I could cube, because obviously I didn't have one of my own. I really wanted to make one, but I really didn't have, like, a chance to. So, every time I was there, I really wanted to cube. I was asking everybody, like, can we cube? Can we cube? And, this is kind of where the obsession began. This was during Necros format, right before YCS Columbus, and I actually think I cubed more than I actually play tested, but from cubing, my technical play got like a lot tighter. I just felt like I was getting better at the game overall, like deck building and like all sorts of things, making the correct choices on what to cut in your deck. Because remember, you're gonna have like 80 to 100 cards in your deck after 80 to 100 cards in like your card pool to build your deck with after you cube. So being able to identify the best 40 cards and the best 15 side deck cards and the best 15 extra deck cards became really crucial in cubing, and that translated really well over into real Yu-Gi-Oh! I was like, oh, like, why would I ever want to play like 41 or 42 cards? And granted, there's some instances where, that's fine, but me personally, I was just like, well, like, this always works in cube, and I'm gonna do that. And another thing that was really beneficial in cubing was properly side decking. A lot of people have a really big issue with side decking in real Yu-Gi-Oh! And that just comes from either not coming prepared to the event and just being like, you know what, I'll figure out what to side when I get to that match, and that's fine, but it's not gonna be the best way to go about trying to top or win an event. You're gonna want to come into that event and know what you want to side, so you have plenty of time to play your match. However, if you end up coming to an event unprepared, but you have like lots of cubing experience, this has definitely happened to me at like a regional event or something, just a lower tier event. You can just take, like, let's say you have your side deck and your main deck, right? That's going to be 40, 50, 55 cards, which is going to be the exact same amount of cards you would have if you did an 8-man draft with my 400-person cube. And basically what that means is when you're side decking, you just have all these cards and you're just rebuilding your deck to play against your opponent. You don't have to be like, oh, what am I taking in, what am I taking out? Just think about like the cards that you want to rebuild your deck with. You'd be like, oh, well, he's playing Cosmo, so if I happen to have this Imperial Iron Wall, I probably want to main that, or like System Down or something that helps you against the matchup and take out something that isn't very favorable. And, just stuff like that. Like, like cube actually like benefits your actual play. Back when I was writing articles for Ultra Reality Games, I wrote an article about how I drafted more and tested less for events, and I still was seeing like very positive results. Now, if you like the sound of cubing and you want to see more content like this, I'll be happy to provide deck profiles from decks that have done well at draft, live duels between people that have cubed from like a draft. Obviously, we're not going to be like, oh yeah, let's take all the best cards and throw them in this deck, and oh yeah, let's take all the best cards and throw them in this deck, and let's just play. And sometimes we do that just for fun to see like who can build the best deck out of literally anything. But these would be duels from actual drafts, and you just kind of get to see like the crazy interactions and like see how cool it is. I can also try to do coverage of like a draft in itself, like maybe have like a camera on myself or one of my friends who I consider very good at drafting, and you can just kind of see like how they build their deck and stuff like that. So yeah, hopefully you really enjoyed this video, and I can provide more cube content for you. If you hated it, that's fine. I won't be offended. Like, it's whatever. But I really think you would enjoy cubing. It's really, really fun. I don't think I've had too many people that have disliked it, and those that have were very like close to the idea going into it, so I could tell they wouldn't like it. But yeah, hopefully you like this video. Be sure to check out Super Games online for all your card gaming needs. They're really awesome. Shout out to the Card Guys. And yeah, thanks for watching.